Hey everybody, we're back. The squash is all finished. And what I did was, as soon as it came out of the pan, I scooped it right into some ice water to shock it and cool it right away, because we wanted to cool that squash down as soon as possible to stop the cooking so it didn't get super mushy or hard to handle at all. So I've gone ahead and just roughly mashed it with my potato masher here. And then what I'm gonna do, I just gave it a couple of pulses. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in my my food processor, and it just has the regular attachment down at the bottom. And you'll notice it's pretty watery. I've drained off a lot of the water in a colander, and I've also added the other squash that I had before. I had, not very much, maybe a cupful, and I'm gonna go ahead and pulse this just a few times, just to kind of puree it. Now, you don't have to do this part. You can skip this part if you want and just give it a rough chop if you don't mind like little pieces in there. I'm gonna go ahead and puree it just because I want a nice smooth custard. And then you just kind of leave it on just for, probably about 15-20 seconds just to make sure that it's nice and smooth. All right, so now it has kind of the consistency of applesauce, so to speak. All right, so this is gonna come out, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put this right in this mixing bowl, and then we're gonna start the process for the apple. I got apple on the brain now that I have applesauce. Almost the season for that too. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put this right in here in this bowl, and then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start on the filling mix for the pie. So you need to know beforehand, I've already gone ahead and I've made a pie crust, and I put it in the oven and I baked it for about 10 minutes on 375. And I put some little ramekin dishes in there as weights. Now, if you're making a pie crust, you want to pre-cook it, okay? I don't have any fancy pie crust weights or anything like that. I have these little ramekin dishes, put a little bit of water in the bottom of them, and just place them around about 4 or 5 minutes into the cooking process. All right, so it's gonna start to puff up just a little bit. Take the pie crust out, put your ramekin dishes in there to kind of push the sides back so they don't puff all up and get disformed, and then stick it back in the oven for another 5 to 7 minutes. So 10 to 12 minutes in an oven is going to be perfect for that pie crust, and it's just kind of sitting there cooling right now. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start with the eggs. We're going to need 4 eggs for this recipe. So I'm going to go ahead and crack them in a separate dish just to make sure that all of the shells and everything get taken out before it gets put into the mix. So 4 eggs go into my stand mixer fit with the paddle attachment, and then we're gonna add some sugar to it, okay? We're gonna add 3/4 cup of sugar. Now this is some homemade vanilla that I've made. It's been aging since May, so I've just started to use it. Usually it's anywhere from 4 to 6 months that you usually wait, but it was actually turning pretty good in color. So I was able to start using it. Maybe I put a couple of extra vanilla beans in there and it aged a little bit quicker than normal. So anyway, 2 full teaspoons of real vanilla would be wonderful. You don't have to make it. You can go out and buy it if you want to, but making it is super simple. All right, we're gonna raise this up. All right, and then we're gonna start it on the first speed just to kind of incorporate it a little bit, just so that the eggs don't go splashing everywhere, okay? So as soon as that gets just a little bit mixed together, then we're gonna up the speed to medium high, and we're gonna let that beat for about 3 to 4 minutes. So you really want this beat, the eggs to really beat in well with the sugar, and you're gonna, all of a sudden, you're gonna see that color of the egg just lighten right up to a nice light yellow. All right, it's been about 3, almost 4 minutes. I'm gonna turn this off and lower my stand mixer. I want you to see the color of this egg mixture, okay? So it fluffed up really nice and frothy, and it turned a nice pale yellow color. So that's exactly what we're looking for. We're gonna add some melted butter. Now 1/4 cup of melted butter. I melted this a little while ago. It's been kind of sitting just so that it's not super hot. We've been able to incorporate the eggs and the sugar together. So by dumping in the warm melted butter, it won't scramble the eggs because we've already gone ahead and kind of broken down the eggs, so to speak. So I'm just gonna kind of slowly drizzle it in though, just to be sure, because we don't want any little pieces of scrambled egg in our custard. We want it nice and smooth, okay? So 1/4 cup of melted butter. So I'm just gonna raise the stand mix up to about speed 2, okay, because it's just gonna stay nice and slow, and it's just gonna kind of keep churning it. Now what I've got in this dish here is some heavy cream. Now this is 1/4 cup of heavy cream goes into the mix at this point. So this has been kind of sitting in my refrigerator, so it's a little bit clumpy here. I'm just gonna use my finger. I keep my heavy cream like in mason jars. Like sometimes if I have an overabundance of it and I know I'm not gonna use it, I'll freeze it because I'll use it for cooking and things, so it's okay to freeze. And so the consistency isn't quite as creamy as like you would get in the store. It kind of clumps up a little bit, but it's completely fine. I just give it a shake and then it goes right in here, and it's just delicious for anything. So you can go ahead and freeze it ahead of time if you want to and use it for any of your custards or any of your cooking stuff. I actually like doing that because if I have, you know, something's on sale, or you get a really good buy on something, or you get it like maybe you can get the heavy whipping cream and you only need just a little bit, go ahead and just freeze the other part of it, and then you take it out and thaw it, and you can use it when you need to bake. Right? So that's a great thing. Or you can divvy it up into like 1 cup segments or 1/2 cup segments and put them into little freezer bags, and then go ahead, or freezer containers are really good too. Pop them into your freezer, then you can take it out anytime you want, and you've had whipping cream or heavy cream, and you don't have to like run to the store really quick because you don't have anything. So that's always a great thing to stock up on in your pantry. So the cream is in here, the melted butter is in here, and that went right, both of those went into the vanilla, sugar, and egg mixture, okay? So that's all incorporated really well. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna speed up the mixer and give it one last little kind of pulse of a whisk, and then we're gonna turn that right down to the lowest speed, and we're gonna start adding our squash mixture. That's a hard thing to say, squash mixture. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna need 3 cups, between 2 and 3 cups. I definitely have 3 cups of mixture in here, so I'm going to use all 3 cups in this mix, because if my pie doesn't call for the full 3 cups, then I'll have a little bit of extra custard. So we're going to go ahead and put 3 cups into our mixing bowl. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my 1 cup mixer. This is actually 1.5 cups, so I'm only going to need 2 of these, and I'm going to try to pre-measure it just so that I know that I have enough. So there's my squash mixture right there. So you can see it's kind of like I said, it looks like applesauce, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this mixer off, and I'm gonna lower this down just so that I have room enough to pour this in there. So 3 cups, I'm actually gonna have a little bit left over, not much. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of fill this cup. I'm gonna put it in my stand mixer just so that I have a little bit of room to not quite get it everywhere. There we go. All right, now I've got probably about 1/4 cup left, and I'm not going to use that for anything, so I'm going to go ahead and dump it in here. Okay, so it's not going to make a huge difference, 1/4 cup here or there with the mixture, because you're going to be putting in a thickening agent for the custard, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay. All right, so we've got 3+ cups of custard in here, and I'm going to go ahead and put that right on low. It looks so delicious. Now what I've got in here is, this is the thickening agent that I have. So this thickening agent is 2 tablespoons of flour, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Okay, so I'm just going to slowly kind of just sprinkle that in. You can take a spoon if you want to and kind of scoop it in if you want. All right, so this is pretty much all come together. The cornstarch and the flour mixture have mixed all in really, really well. Now, if you tend to be on the 3+ cup side of the squash and it looks a little too runny for you, just add another tablespoon of flour or another tablespoon of cornstarch, either one, and that will thicken that right up. Now, if you like a really vanilla custard, the flavor vanilla, like if you wanted to use more than 2 teaspoons, go for it. Add another teaspoon. 3 teaspoons would be perfect. I love vanilla, but my vanilla is, because it's real vanilla, is really strong. So I just went ahead and added the 2 teaspoons. But go ahead and kind of taste it and smell it. And if it's not quite vanilla-y, is that a word? Vanilla-y? If it doesn't have enough of that flavor, then just add another teaspoon to it and you'll be all set. So that was one little tidbit I forgot to tell you earlier. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and pour this filling into our pre-cooked pie crust. This looks so good, and I am going to have some extra. I am excited about that. Pour that right in here. That'll be my snack for later. Okay, so now the last thing before we put this in our 375-degree oven is some nutmeg. Now I'm gonna go ahead and just pinch some nutmeg and just sprinkle it over the top. Now this right here is the secret to the best custard pie ever. All right, so I'm gonna put a little bit on my little ramekin here. That looks so pretty, I love it. So again, this is gonna go into a 375-degree oven until a knife comes out clean. Okay, so with the pie, that's gonna be probably between 45 and 60 minutes, give or take. And the custard's gonna be done a little bit before then, so I'm gonna check that one like at the 30-minute mark. All right, so when it comes back, then you guys are gonna be able to see the end result. I can't wait. This is so delicious, and it's not hard, okay? There's a couple of steps, but your family will love you forever, I promise. Okay, so I'm gonna throw these in the oven, then we'll be right back so you can see the finished result. All right, we're back. It's come out of the oven. It's been sitting about 15 minutes just so that it can set up, and it smells so delicious. Now, I was able to cook my ramekin in about 30 minutes, okay? And then my pie was 45, like right on the money, 45. So the cornstarch and the flour definitely help set these. They're not jiggly at all, and that's what you want. You want to make sure that before you take them out that they're not jiggly, and you just put, I just put a knife down through or a cake tester down through, and as long as it comes out pretty clean or it comes out pretty smooth, then it's done, and that's what you want. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna cut a piece of the pie, and I'm also gonna take a bite. This one's mine, okay? So that's gonna be like my breakfast, lunch, brunch kind of combined. So I'm gonna go ahead and just make a small slice because I want you to be able to see this. It smells, the nutmeg is just heavenly. And I can smell the hints of vanilla in it, and just, it is just so good. This is one of my favorite pies, and it's done with yellow squash. So definitely get out there, get some of that yellow squash. It's a little bit of a process to cut it up, but it's not hard at all, and it's so worth it. You guys, you definitely want to make this at home. All right, so I'm gonna ever so gently dish this out and see if I can get on my plate without making a complete mess, because I'm like that. There we go. So you can see that the layers here are all super creamy, and it has a great custard consistency to it, and you didn't have to use a ton of eggs in order to make the custard. Your squash acted as that, a filler. Okay, so you didn't have to like use a dozen eggs like you would normally a custard pie. All right, you only need 4 of them. So that is a savings right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and dip into the custard just so that you can see it. Now it's been sitting, it's still a little warm, okay? But you can see that great consistency there. The steam is just pouring out. It's just perfect. That takes me back to when I was a kid, right away to my grandmother's custard pies and bread puddings. It is so good, and the nutmeg and the sugar, the vanilla is so prominent, and it just tastes perfect. So I hope you like this recipe. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel for all of these recipes. Give this one a try. This one will be your favorite, or at least one of the top favorites is for me. Hope you have a great day, and don't forget, whatever you do, you make it with love. We'll see you next time.